Hello and welcome to this episode of HOM Entertainment. I'm Brandie Yates. Frozen the musical has made its way to the Wharton Center, and we are here with Mason Reeves, who plays Kristoff. Mason, thank you so much for being here.
Yes, hi. Thank you for having me.
Well, I know this is Frozen's your Disney debut, so let's hear a little bit about you and your career.
Well, yes, this is my Disney debut as well as my national tour debut. I actually just graduated from school in 2020. Technically, I left school early to come and do this job. So I'd only been in some school shows, some summer stock theater. I was Sky and Mamma Mia at a theater in Connecticut, and then I was Ren and Footloose at this theater called the Muni in St. Louis. And from those two shows, Disney saw some videos of me online, and then they were looking for Kristoff. And so they had me send in a video after school one day or after class one day, and then flew me to New York like 2 weeks later. And then I auditioned for a whole day and then ended up getting it. And so I finished school online and left. I didn't do senior year at school. I did senior year on the road as Kristoff, which was pretty cool.
Wow, congratulations. That's awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, it was definitely not the way I expected things going, but my parents were very happy not to pay another year of tuition.
Sure. So where did you go to school for musical theater?
I went to the University of Michigan.
All right.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Sorry, I know. I keep forgetting not to wear University of Michigan gear around East Lansing. I'm scared.
You know what? We love our Michigan natives, even though green and white is our country over here, but we won't hold it against you.
All right, great.
So I want to know, how does it feel playing Kristoff, and what's been your favorite part so far?
It's awesome playing Kristoff. I mean, I think my favorite part is that he's a character that really has an arc every night. You know, he starts off the show being kind of this isolated to himself kind of guy. He's always just taking care of things for himself. He's got his ice business. He doesn't really need to talk to other people. And so he's kind of closed off and thinks he knows everything about the world. And what I love is then seeing how him being exposed to Anna and seeing Anna sacrifice everything to go try to save her sister warms him up and makes him realize that there can be more to life. And then he ends up falling for her, and he's never fallen for anyone before. And it's trying to figure out what are all these feelings. And so I really enjoy playing the discoveries of what love feels like, and the discovery of, wait, maybe I want my life to look a little bit different every night. I really like that.
All right. And for people who don't know, Frozen the musical is based on the film from 2013.
Yes.
And the story is around the relationship of two princesses, sisters, and one has magical powers and one doesn't. And it's pretty exciting, I'm sure. What can audience expect? How did the film adaptation get turned into a theater production? It always amazes me when I see them do that. And I want to hear from you on that.
Absolutely. I mean, I think it's awesome. So what's so cool about movies is that, you know, whenever characters are going through emotional, distress, or they're having issues, they can bring the camera in right here and you can see all of their, sadness in an eye going that way or an eye going, something like that. Whereas in theater, you're seeing this big set and the whole stage all the time, and the people are this big. And so in order to flesh out those moments in the movie where they come up close, we have music. That's what music is for. And so there are 12 new songs in the musical that sort of flesh out. Yeah. And they're beautiful, and they kind of flesh out those moments, like Elsa, when Elsa becomes the queen, in the movie, they get close to her face and you see her being nervous. But in the show, there's this beautiful song called Dangerous to Dream, performed by Caroline Bowman in our show, who is incredible Broadway legend. And so you do not want to miss that. But it's just fleshing out her feelings of, am I capable of being the queen? Should I do this? And her little bit of her, sort of inferiority complex, being afraid of doing that. And so I think it's going to be wonderful for audiences to see, because I think even compared to the movie, there are more things that I think people of all ages can relate to in the musical, because they're fleshed out in such a clear way. People falling in love, people pushing themselves to do things that they wouldn't do because they're in love or because they want something. And these feelings of, sisterhood, that the bond between Elsa and Anna, I think, is really central to this story and is really fleshed out with these new songs that we have. I think audiences are going to be very happy.
12. So yeah, so if you think you know the story and all the songs now, you'll be pleasantly surprised to have an expanded version. That's just the power of theater. It really is.
Absolutely, absolutely, yeah. And
So
it's kind of, and it's cool because you're right in, you're right in the thick of it. The set's huge, and so what you're going to feel also is just this feeling of immersion that you don't necessarily get from movies unless you're seeing it in a big IMAX theater. And for me, sometimes it's a little overwhelming. Anytime we were rehearsing and I could watch, I would just sit there like, oh my gosh, and the magic overflows you. It's really great.
well, for I always love the set pieces and the special effects, and I'm sure the costuming is going to be really cool. But how, I mean, describe that feeling. I mean, Olaf is a snowman, and we have
Yep.
Sven, who's a reindeer. And
Yep.
how are they putting that on stage? How does that even happen?
Yeah, so it's incredible. I can't tell you the absolute specifics of it because they say that's Disney magic, but I can tell you that Sven is played by one person every night. When you see it, you're gonna be like, how does that happen? It's just the puppet is amazing, and it looks like an actual reindeer. And they also have a lot of control over Sven's ears, eyes, face. So
Wow.
it's really personal because Kristoff spent a lot of time talking to Sven, and I was worried going into rehearsals that it was going to be difficult because a lot of my scenes are just talking to this puppet, and it's kind of insane how lifelike it is and how much they can give back and how much it's a scene between the two of us. And then Olaf is played by one of my closest friends on tour, F. Michael Haney, who is another Broadway legend, done a bunch of Broadway shows, and is absolutely hilarious. And I don't even really know how to describe what it is that they do, but it is just incredible. You are not gonna want to miss it. It feels just like it's the same essence of that movie, the joy that Olaf will bring you, I think. And that just sort of interesting sense of humor that's kind of out of that otherworldly sense of humor is prevalent in the show. I think you'll be very happy with it. Yeah.
You can't say it. You have the Disney magic, theater magic, bring it to, there's just magic all over the place.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Um, so you said audiences can expect new songs and a lot of cool special effects. I want to know, obviously we're still in a pandemic and things have changed in Broadway and theater, and you got kind of pushed right into that, right in the middle of it. Frozen had their tour in the US began in November 19th, and then they had to shut down in 2020. How did this affect this show, you as an actor, and just like Broadway in general? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. I mean, we feel very grateful and very fortunate right now to be back in the position that we are. Because even with the Omicron spike, we only had to cancel one show, and it wasn't even because of COVID cases. It was just because we wanted to make sure our testing was locked down. We get tested we get tested every day, and so we are as careful as possible within our show to avoid cases. So we get to keep going. A lot of shows have canceled for a night or two or three, and then all of a sudden they cancel for a week, and then all of a sudden the producers say, we can't keep your show open, and then close all the way, And so we are very lucky to have jobs. But this year has been hard on everyone. I think coming back to rehearsals, we all had to have a lot of kind of like power meetings at the top of things, just to kind of talk about our emotions and we couldn't just jump right back into performing without being like, well, we weren't able to do this for a year and a half, and we've all been sitting in our apartments wondering if anything's ever going to happen again. And so there was a lot of tears, a lot of emotions, and a lot of gratitude expressed. And so we are all just so thankful to get to be performing and to get to bring joy to people again, and also thankful that we get to have the joy of being the part of ourselves that we have defined ourselves as throughout our lives. And I think a lot of people explored other parts of themselves during the pandemic. I know I did, and I think it's been so nice to get to do that, to be able to bring that back to performing with a little bit more of a holistic view of my life. So I'm grateful for that, and also grateful to have a job again.
Oh, good. Yes, I'm sure. A lot of people in the theater, the arts get hit really hard when anything major happens, really. But Yeah, it's such a good time now for like people's mental health, not only for those who are performing, but it's an escape for people who can come to the shows. So
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
it's just so
Yeah.
powerful.
Yeah, and I think these days with COVID and things like that, it's been harder. You know, I used to love going to jazz clubs and things like that, and it's been harder for me to get there. And so I think the first time that a lot of people have seen Frozen, because we've opened up a lot of the theaters that we've been back to in cities, and so the first time that audiences get to A, see theater again after a year and a half, but then B, have it be this incredible spectacle, this incredible emotional journey. You know, it's just I've noticed it's very overwhelming. We have a lot of like adults in tears at the end of the
Oh, I
show,
know,
and
I'm gonna cry.
yeah, a lot of I always say we have a lot of adults in tears at the end of the show, and a lot of kids like absolutely joyous and screaming and happy and trying to wave at all of us at the end. So I think it's been wonderful to get to do that for people.
Yeah, so you mentioned the children. I had to tell my daughter, so we're gonna take her to her first musical, which is Frozen, and we're
Oh,
very excited. And I said, they're on stage, so you can't really talk to them. And she's like, well, I'm sure you get a lot of that where they want to yell and wave. And how does it been to see like the children in the audience?
yes, it is awesome, and they are hilarious. I think my favorite is there's this big like ice bridge that comes on stage for this one scene, and then right at the top of the scene I enter with Sven, and Elsa runs off stage, and and this little kid, I'm like already 10 seconds into this scene with Sven, and this kid just yells, "That's Elsa's home!" Like it just screams it, and I was just like, oh, that kid. I kind of got distracted and I forgot what I was doing. Sometimes that happens, but it's really great. But like I said earlier, it's really for all ages. It's got that Disney thing where, you know, the kids have something to enjoy, and then the adults have a whole other layer to enjoy. And I think really with this cast that we have and this ensemble that we have, there you are going to be surprised. A lot of the people that I talk to, because a lot of my friends come and they're adults or whatever, and they were like, yeah, I knew you were Frozen, so I came to see it for you, but I didn't have kids or anything. And then by the end of it, I was sobbing, and I couldn't believe what I just seen and what I just experienced. And, you know, it's so much more than just a children's show. And so that makes me feel good. What'd you say?
Multi-layer of the
Yes.
storytelling for sure.
Absolutely.
So like I said, it was my daughter's first musical. Do you remember your first musical? What did you see?
Yes, I actually do. My first musical was, well, I guess my first national tour that I ever saw was Lion King. So so a Disney thing. And I remember thinking, when I saw the young Simba, and I couldn't do that. At the time, I was not talented at all, but I was like, I could do that better than that kid. And so I was watching it, and he was kind of off pitch. Sometimes I'd be like, I could do that better. And then he did a backflip. And then I was like, okay, I can't do that. And then but
you're like, so I
won't
be in Lion King.
yes. But then I devoted my life to getting better, and now here I am. So
Good. Yeah, I think
yeah.
My first was The Music Man back in the day.
Oh.
It was actually at Wharton Center, and it was awesome.
Oh, that's such a beautiful show. I love that show. It makes me cry.
It is. So Mason, here's your shameless plug time. For those who are coming to the show, what do you want to tell them? And for those who haven't yet bought tickets, what do you want to tell the audience?
I would say, come see the show. You don't want to miss it. It's not often that, I mean, what we love about touring is that we get to bring these insane sets and all these things around the country to everyone. So it's not often that you get to just drive, 15 minutes from your house and go see, a production like this. I think that's something that I loved doing when I was living in Arizona, because that was the only opportunity I got to see stuff like this. I'm from Arizona. Sorry, I didn't mention that. But,
no, that's okay.
Other shameless plug, this cast in particular is fantastic. It is every one of us gets to take our own sort of spin on these characters while capturing the essence of what it is. And I think you're not going to want to miss Caroline Interbickler, who plays Anna, is incredible. Caroline Bowman, who plays Elsa, is just like, I haven't heard singing like this in my entire life. And she does it every night. It's kind of wild. But sometimes I sit there and I'm like, she still sounds this good. And she's done 7 shows this week. And she's just like, it's incredible. And F is hilarious, who plays Olaf, who I mentioned already. And our ensemble is just made up some of the best Broadway dancers around and best singers. You know, everyone is going to be completely focused on the storytelling. And above all that, you get to see all this magic. You're going to get to see these projections. It's just, my shameless plug is that it's too much for me to put into words. You're going to enjoy it. I think you don't want to miss it. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that was like excellent shameless plug, and I'm excited to see it. Before we go though, you mentioned this ensemble that is on stage almost every night. Obviously you have understudies too, but for people who want to be in musical theater or make it to Broadway, I want to hear from you, since this is your national debut and Disney debut. What's your advice for them?
Yeah, that's a great question, actually. I would say the best advice that I can give is keep working hard and keep trying and keep pushing yourself. But so there's that little voice in your head that's going to tell you that you're not good enough the whole time. And that voice is important to keep you driving, but you also don't need to let that voice make you suffer all the time. So I would probably say the best advice that I could give is every time you do a performance, try to silence that little subjective voice in your head that's telling you you were bad, you were good, you were, whatever. And instead try to focus on the objective voice of, I liked this choice that I made. I liked this decision that I made. I didn't like this decision that I made. And try to improve the things that you just didn't, that you want to be better. And just spend time going to the practice room and practicing and going to class and learning and listening and really taking notes and trying to make yourself into something without all of that self-hatred. Because that was the hardest part for me. And I found I wasted a lot of time feeling terrible instead of saying, I want to be better. So then let me just hit the grindstone again and get back to it. So I'd recommend that.
Well, your story is really inspirational. Like you said, you weren't even out of school. They saw videos of you and you auditioned, and here you are in a pandemic and a national show. So yeah, definitely congratulations and very inspiring.
Well, thank you. Thanks, Brandie. It's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. So I'm going to do my shameless plug as a part of my TV show. Disney's Frozen's at the Wharton Center, January 26th to February 6th. Check the Wharton Center website for tickets and all the COVID protocols. Mason, thank you so much, and have a fantastic run here. And we're very excited to see it.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Have a good one.
You too. Thanks for watching.